There's been a lot of talk in our industry about semi-private training, and that is for good reason. On average, those members pay more, they stay longer, and it creates opportunities for your coaches. But there really isn't a great roadmap for adding that to an existing group training gym. And that's why a lot of gym owners see the opportunity, but they get stuck in the planning phase, or they try and add it, but it's a half-hearted attempt and it doesn't stick. That's why today we're going to be sitting down with Jamie Warren, the CEO of Iron Tribe, who was successfully able to add semi-private to not 1, but 8 locations and built that revenue stream up to about a third of his revenue. Iron Tribe facilities run in about a 3,000 square foot footprint, so it's very similar to CrossFit affiliates. Jamie figured out the exact order of operations to get this up and running without disrupting his group classes. I'm John Franklin. I'm the CEO of Two Brain Business. We're the world's largest gym mentorship company, working with over 3,500 gym owners to help them take home 6 figures in profit, because yes, it is possible. This is going to be a tactical one. Jamie's going to be breaking down every step of the journey, what worked, what didn't, and how you can add semi-private training to your gym without disrupting what you've already built. So let's get into it.
Jamie Warren, thanks for doing this today. The reason I wanted to talk to you is because you're one of the only people I know who've gone from the primary source of revenue in your gym being group training to semi-private. And you've done it not once, but you've done it across 8 locations. And now you are trying to implement the same systems in the other 26 total?
20, yeah. So it'd be 16. Yeah,
Okay,
8 that I own, and plus the other 16 franchises.
You're going to implement it in another 16 gym locations. So let's give a little context. What made you want to add semi-private into your locations?
Sure. And a little background, at the time, so I was a franchisee for 13 years before taking over the helm of the CEO, at Iron Tribe Fitness. And so when we implemented these things, it really was as a franchisee needing to, rely on the franchisor at the time to give us those systems. So what really motivated us to do this was a few things. We were coming out of the pandemic, and this was simply a trend in the market, and we already knew that we had good relational equity with the clients that we served. And so this was a way that we could help them at a higher level, hopefully serve them longer, meet a market need, but also really increase the opportunity for our team so that their careers could be longer, more lucrative. And if we can help people get further along and spend longer time with us, then it was just all win-win-win.
And you had a fully booked schedule, right? Like how many classes a day was the average Iron Tribe location doing?
Yeah, so this was, in 2021 is when we rolled this out. But yeah, I mean, a typical schedule would have been 8 to 10 classes, so it was full. And at the time, a lot of people don't know this, Iron Tribe had started with a group functional fitness class, but at the time, some gyms were still even running our HIIT program. So for about 5 years, we had, lesser skilled movements, a little bit more cardio focused. So the addition of semi-private was really, there wasn't enough room in the schedule, right? So we had to make a choice. Who were we going to serve? And sunsetting that program while we added semi-private was a huge orchestrated move.
And so for context, how big is the average Iron Tribe location?
So in the 8 that I owned, I mean, when you talk about, size of that, it's about 181 active paying members.
I'm talking like actual square footage.
Oh, got it. Sorry. So the footprint is around 3,000 square feet on average. Some a little bit more, some a little bit less.
Okay, so it's not this massive space. And
Right.
you do not run semi-private at the same time as your group classes, correct?
Correct. One program is on the floor at one time. No split. Yeah, there's not a separate room. There's no curtain down the middle.
So it's similar size to, a typical like CrossFit affiliate. And when you started, it was a typically packed schedule.
Right.
And so we've talked to a lot of affiliates who would love to do the CrossFit methodology with less clients, higher ARM.
Right.
But where do you add it?
Right. And, and just for technicality, Iron Tribe started in 2010 as a CrossFit affiliate, de-affiliated in 2012 because the founder wanted to really build his own brand and different things and kind of serve a little bit different client. But we've been functional fitness, group, for doing that. So how do you do that?
Well, I want to be clear. I'm not saying Iron Tribe is CrossFit. I want to point out that the footprint is very similar and the class schedule is very similar. So,
Correct.
So what's interesting about this is the problems you face were almost identical to that.
Correct.
A large group-based gym where 90+% of their revenue comes from group training would face.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, the reasons why we wanted to do that where we knew that if we could serve clients longer, serve clients at a higher level, kind of all those win-win-win things, it would really change the whole face of the business. And, on top of all of this, you had meta algorithms changing, all the things about how we generate customers, that all of that was becoming more and more challenging, and the market just becomes more saturated. So this was so much of a differentiation move for the brand, especially coming out of the pandemic, where the whole world was turned upside down. And we were, as a brand, we were a little bit late to the semi-private party. It had been established, but once we really got it going, it was a pretty rapid, transformation. We could do that, really within about a year to 18 months, kind of fully get to where we are today.
So to be clear, you were fairly reliant on paid ads to fill the group programs for a while.
Yes.
And then as that became less and less effective, we needed to figure out something else to, keep the revenue the same or higher.
Exactly.
On a smaller amount of leads.
Exactly. And so the whole offer of, okay, does semi-private make sense? And who's that for, right? I mean, you think about who are the clients that we could serve, that we had great relationships with, that really would need the service. Who are those who want to work on specific things? Who are those who really maybe want more of a specialized thing that's not just a GPP program in group fitness? Maybe they want to have some real specific things around hypertrophy. Maybe they're training for a certain thing, more of a specialized modality, that kind of thing. So it really opened it up. And because the relationship of client to coach was so strong, it was like, hey, we're going to roll this out. We'd love for you to be our guinea pig, beta test, try that out and really make sure that they're happy with it. But it also meant too that who we were starting to hire had to change. Because the coach who could deliver a great group fitness class, day in, day out, struggled without a certified personal training background. And so who we needed to hire started to needing, we had to level that up, because the perfect coach to deliver all that is someone who has some personal training experience, but also doesn't want to have their whole day be one client at a time. But then you need enough of that personal training methodology, kind of philosophy, when you're going to approach this in a small group. And that was the huge difference.
And to be clear, what you're offering is you do 5-to-1?
We do 5-to-1. So that's 5 athletes or clients in the session with one coach.
And everyone on their own program.
Correct. Now, here's the thing, nuance, but it's helpful. In our footprint, we actually do have the room to actually do what's called a double track. So you might have 5 clients with one coach, and then another 5 clients on the other end of the gym with another coach. And so double tracking that, actually, operationally, we have the room to do that, and it's taken a while to kind of knock all those kinks out. But that's a very good experience for athletes, and they keep coming back.
I've heard of gym owners who are operating 7 tracks in one space at a given time.
You got to have a big gym floor to do that.
You should just pivot to group. Have you heard of group training?
Wow.
All right. So you got the 10 classes on the schedule. That's a packed day.
Right.
So how do you start? How if I want, I'm sold. You've given me the opportunity.
Right.
I want to hire ARM. I want to provide more opportunity and potentially get better coaches or different,
Right.
What do I do if there's no real estate on the schedule to add this?
First principles, right? The owner has to make a real commitment of we're going to really do this. So when we've seen, those who struggled really have never done that. So it starts there. Okay. Are we really going to do this? Do we really feel like there's all the reasons to do it? So owner commitment. The second thing is you have to build the product, and it's going to iterate. Okay. It's going to beta, but you can't expect someone that has zero CPT background. There's not even a philosophy in your ethos, in the DNA of the gym, to even deliver this higher level of service. You just can't call it semi-private and slap a template you find on the internet and expect a client to stick around or to get good results. So that has been do we have the people, build the product? And then, for a gym that's got an established group book of business, right, a full schedule, what we were taught to do at the time was, hey, let's find those clients. Let's start to train them, even if it's some off times, right? And have them be your guinea pigs, your beta test. Show them good results, be able to do that, document all that, get all those testimonials and everything, so that when you're ready to make that commitment, you've got the proof, you've got it all on video, it looks great, and you've got some really happy clients that have said, hey, I've trusted this coach for group for years. Now I can trust this coach to take me to an even higher level of service, to even extend my results and extend my time here at the gym, because I already love them and trust them. Now they can serve me at this high level. And that was the magic when we made the commitment to do that, and then did the beta test, and then got really serious. Like, we're going to launch this, but like those who struggled are just kind of, it's half-hearted,
So conceptually, I understand, but let's get a little more tactical.
Sure.
So the first thing you did was hire somebody, or did you use your existing team?
We used our existing team and really went to those who had that personal training background.
Understood.
All, who really had even had a heart for that. And the other thing too is anybody that's owned a group training concept for a while, in your coaching team, it can almost become like Groundhog Day. I mean, it's this, you're doing the same workout,
Right.
And so for the coach, this was a really exciting way to grow. It's
More
like,
variety.
Wow, I can use my degree, I can use my certs, I can use my brain and really help kind of solve a next level problem for these clients. So our team was really excited about it. So the beta tests, like the starting one, were the ones that had the most experience and the natural leaning that way. But when we started to hire after that, it's like, okay, once we knew this had legs, okay, so now we're hiring a different. It's not just you've got some group, you need some barbell experience, kind of that, but like you need to have a CPT, you need to have done this. And the longer we've done it now, we actually hire people who have semi-private experience. And so we can plug them into this really mature model and they're like, oh, this is great. I get to be all granular with some of these clients some of the day. And then I can go do, kind of be the guy on stage or the gal on stage and have fun in a big group class, big energy, and then kind of go back to dialing it in with my semi-private clients.
So you found the person on your squad who, would be a good fit for that.
Yeah.
And then, you're running 10 classes a day. Did you just pick 5 people with flexible schedules like, hey, Jamie, you look like you could work out at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday and invite it. Can you try this thing for me?
Right. No, I wish it was that easy, right? So it was a lot of iteration and individual conversations. And so that was the real challenge in integrating a semi-private into the schedule was you're invariably going to change schedules. And it's often like day by day, and then having to make operational decisions, because it's funny, you might have a group class that had 15 people in it. And then maybe 5 of those people, say, hey, we're going to do semi-private now. And they're kind of morning people, right? So where do they go? And then with kind of the other just flowings of the gym, maybe that class comes, and now it's only like 5 people in group. Well, if those prime people, and especially there's more who want that slot, we actually killed some classes on the schedule. And, obviously athletes didn't like that, especially those who'd been there in the wild for a long time and weren't interested in our semi-private at the time. So there was a little bit of athlete attrition in this process.
So for the beta test, did you kill classes right off the get?
Only when what we tried to find was with that beta, could we find a place where it was convenient for those athletes? Once we knew that we were really going to make a go at this, we had to take a hard look at the schedule on a day-by-day basis and say, does this slot need to stay group? Could it become semi-private? And so it was literally going down and doing that to try to do the least amount of harm, but serve the most amount of clients who were interested in this new level of service.
So step 1 was not removing anything.
Yeah, again, do no harm, right?
It was in addition. So you added an 11th.
Yes, yeah.
And so how did you get people into that beta test?
So it literally was the one-on-one conversation. John, you've been here for years. We talk about these things in our assessments. You need this, you need that. What if I could give you a custom program? What if I could do custom nutrition guidance for you? Does that sound interesting? Yeah, of course. And so it was literally that. And then we kind of did that on the house for the first few. And then really just to see, does this have legs? Is this going to work?
So, if you were instructing a gym owner who wanted to try this, they got a packed schedule.
Yeah.
Your first piece of advice, you find 5 people who you think would benefit from the service, and then a coach who had, a high touch background that could that could deliver this properly.
Right.
The next piece would be, give it to them at free or discounted, but included to just kind of try it out at a dead class slot.
Right. Or maybe, and even just for a time, say we're going to give this a 10-week or a 6-week, whatever your time frame is.
Can you pilot this thing?
Can you pilot this for me, at that inconvenient time for a time?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then with that, if they're having a good time, they're getting results, they're enjoying it, you then, I guess you could solidify that class slot. And that's when you start to look at the other ones like, hey, okay. And so how do we fill the second one?
Right. Yeah. And so at some point, the gym owner is going to have to look at the schedule and say, the demand for the semi-private is so good, we're going to have to shift some things around. But again, we always just tried to do incremental clicks one at a time. It's funny, Dave Ramsey, the financial expert, always talks about, I love his analogy. He said, when you change a culture in a company, or if you're changing operationally, things like this, it's like riding with a bunch of people in on a convertible car through the mountains, windy mountain roads. If you go around a curve too fast, people are going to fall out of the car and off the cliff. So in a similar way, we tried to say, this is the culture of our gym. This is what our clients want. Let's just try to make it tolerable, right? Just one click at a time and have it be work and still work. And if they're displaced by a schedule change, could they find somewhere else? Could they go, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday instead of Monday, Wednesday, Friday? One day could they go 45 minutes earlier? Always just really trying to say, how can we meet the most athlete needs and preferences? And, I started as an athlete. I didn't study exercise science. I didn't set out to become a coach. So I'm always looking at things through the lens of the customer. And that's always my bias, just kind of who I am. And so that, I think, served well when we were given the model from our franchisor at the time. I looked at it through that way. And so I think our team did a really good job of thinking through all those details because, there are people want to serve them.
Well, let's keep building through it, right? So you got your first one, you did your test, it goes well. What's the next thing? Are you going to try and add a second one in the dead time, or when do we start looking at the schedule and saying, hey, we might need to change some stuff here. This thing's got legs.
Well, once we knew it had legs, then we knew that the larger
when
picture.
did you know it had legs?
Yeah. Okay. So the franchise office at the time rolled this out like in February of 2021. We watched them. We tried to take notes. We always tried to say like, okay, take what they do and how could we, make it better, So we took a lot of notes on all that. And then we did our beta group in Q2. So then I basically had a month to prepare, and we actually set a date, a webinar, live webinar at night, like 8:00 at night. Jamie's going live in front of the Nashville, franchises. And so we had all the testimonials and everything. And it was basically, hey, here's the future of our business. And no one knew what we were talking about. I mean, a lot of people tuned in because they just didn't know what I was going to say, but it was like, hey, here's where the market's going. We feel that we could really roll this out. And so we're going to sunset our HIT program. We're going to replace it with this. Here's why. It's good for the team. And here's the 6 people that we've already been doing this. So don't listen to us, just listen to them. And then we rolled the video and we had the 3-minute slot and we said, hey, we're rolling this out August 1. We have 100 slots. Try this. We're going to give you like this great founder's rate just to, give us a shot and trust it with us. And so we signed up 100 people after that webinar. And so it was like this once we knew it had legs, it wasn't just, okay, let's just try to add it incrementally. We were like, we're going all in. And that's what the franchisor had done. And so we just kind of iterated and did our own version of it. And it was equally successful.
Okay. So you did the test and you're like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And so you did a webinar, your members attended, you explained the opportunity, you sunsetted a program. So how many slots on the schedule did you remove or replace?
Roughly that was, and we didn't do it all at once. And I think that was the key, right? Not too many people falling out of the convertible at once. So, as that demand grew up to 100 people, we started maybe with one couple of classes, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then once that grew, it was like, okay, well, then let's extend that out to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And so with each change, we tried to say, how is this the least disruptive? What if we move this popular class time up 15 minutes? Poll all the people in that class. Could you do this? If it was 15 minutes earlier in your day, does that work in your life? If 8 out of 10 said yes, okay, well, let's just do that. A couple of naysayers, they were upset, and it's like, we just tried to help as many people as we could, but we made that so we could slide another one in here. So it was literally this Tetris game on the schedule that wasn't, done once and done. It took months, but basically over the next 12 months, our schedule transformed into kind of what it looks like today, where half of the class schedule is semi-private and then the other half is group. But now today, John, like at our busiest gyms, 13 classes on the schedule. I mean, not 13 slots, and they're all filled. So it is wall to wall helping people.
13 slots. So 13, you're 45 minutes.
45 minutes, yeah.
But you do gaps, right? So it's like 13 hours of.
Well, yeah. We have a gap usually 1 to 3 at most gyms. Maybe there's like a 10:30 to 11:15. But at our busiest gym, the number one gym in the brand, there's maybe a 15-minute break, like 2 15-minute breaks between 5 a.m. and noon.
Okay. I was saying gaps in between classes, but you stack sessions?
We stack sessions, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, hey, 3, 2, 1, tribe. Great. We'll see you next time. Hey, 11:15. Let's warm up.
Okay. And so it sounds like it was just, so would you market it as, hey, we have these 2 slots, who wants them, or who wants semi-private, and they tell you the times and then you try and Tetris from that? Like, how did you go about building the slots, right? Because if a gym owner is like, okay, like it's easy enough to understand, hey, I get 5 people to try this out and do it at a dead time slot.
Right. And like that's probably the most conservative way, but we let the demand drive it. I mean, so once we had the 100 people, we didn't like approach it with, okay, I mean, we backwards engineered it. I mean, like, this is how Steve Jobs thought. This is how Elon thinks, okay? Have the demand of what your customer needs, like, and build everything around that. Even if they don't know it, right? So that's what we did. Those 100 people, what they needed influenced the first moves in the schedule.
So they raised their hand, they said, hey, I want this, but you didn't say these are the slots we have available.
Right.
Okay.
We just sold the program.
You sold it without having slots on the schedule?
Yes.
And then, okay.
Then we figured it out. We let the demand of the customer. This is my.
Would you recommend doing this if you were to do it again?
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I think we were so convinced that this was the right move to go, and our clients trusted us to do that. And so we knew that if we could work all those details out, I mean, there was some pre-planning about what we might do, but we really let the demands of what our customers needed drive how the operations did, versus this is the way we've always done it, and we're just going to force something onto the market that it's good for us and try to do it that way. So this kind of clues you into kind of how my brain works and how I generally approach business decision making anyway. It's not ready, fire, aim, but the first principle is, hey, whatever that customer needs or wants, like, let's try to engineer the life and the schedule and the product and everything to what they want is what's going to make them happy.
Okay. So I think I understand it now. I'm going to tell it back to you. Let me know that if I got this.
Yeah.
You do the webinar. We're doing this program. We're going to give you a good rate. Do you want to buy it? 100 people say yes. And so now you got 100 customers, but you don't know when you're going to offer these class slots.
Okay, that's not completely true.
Okay.
We had a few placeholders in the schedule. Thank you for clarifying. Few placeholders in the schedule of when we were going to be able to deliver this.
Okay.
So we knew, okay, but that wasn't the leading information in the pitch. We were selling the destination, not necessarily the logistics of when class was going to be.
But when they bought, they knew, hey, I could do one of these classes at this class slot.
We knew that we have a few of those kind of placeholders in there, but then all of where the final schedule is today was all like client driven without upsetting the rest of the gym.
But it was after these, like the initial slots in the launch were filled up.
Yeah.
And then people asked and then you added, and then people asked and then you added.
Yeah, we had the confidence when we had the demand. I mean, the demand was this great problem to solve.
Hey, if you made it this far, you're probably interested in adding semi-private or small group training to your gym. One of the things that makes that model so attractive is that it has a high RPS, or revenue per session. And that's just the amount of revenue you generate for each hour a coach is on the floor. In TwoBrain, we recommend having an RPS of $200 an hour. And to help you get to that threshold, we put together a free calculator that shows you exactly what to package and price your services at, depending on your gym's specific circumstances. To get it, scan the QR code here or click the link below.
And so with the pitch, how many slots did you have available?
100.
So
I'm sorry. If slots
like
on the
class
schedule,
slots,
class
yeah.
slots. Yeah. We had, we were selling 100 people generally at a 3 times a week frequency.
Okay. 100
and
people at a 3 times a week frequency, 5 per class slot.
Right.
Right. So 5, that would be 20 class slots 3 times a week.
6 and change.
Yeah. So you had to get rid of 6 classes.
We had to create 6. So we
6
didn't, that wasn't all getting rid of. Yeah.
It wouldn't have been 6 classes. You had to create 6 slots.
Slots, right. So
Yes.
the slots, and that was a combination of, let's move this up a little bit to create a 45-minute hold where we could do it. Some of it was, enough of these folks have some interest and they've got some flexibility of this like lesser popular time. And then kind of the other part was we got to kill a group class to do this.
Okay. And so those 6 slots, that's per week, right?
Correct.
Okay. So it would be the equivalent of like killing one group class time.
Yeah,
But-
over,
but
the,
you
over the
te-
course of a 6 day, 6 day schedule.
But you had a couple slots here, a couple slots there. It wasn't just like, I'm going to get rid of my 5 p.m. class, and that's problem.
No, yeah, again, do no harm. First principle, do no harm.
It would be like, we got, 4:30 on Tuesday, 4:30 on Thursday, 9:30 on Tuesday, 9:30 on Thursday. Like, those are like, basically you would just take pieces away rather than like nuking a whole class time.
Keep people inside the convertible driving through the mountains.
Okay. So if you were that person who could only work out at that class time, like, it's like, okay, you can't come on Tuesday and Thursday anymore, but you can come Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Right.
And since you committed to this, like, obviously you had pushback. So did you signed up 100? Congratulations, fantastic. How many did you lose? Because I'm sure this did not. I'm sure everyone was like, "Oh, this new service that costs money." Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
Great
basically-
job, Jamie. Like, you definitely lost some people, right?
Yeah, so we knew that, from a revenue, we wanted to be able to help as many people as we could. But, if you kind of look at the natural attrition of what was there, it was, and we'd run about a 3%, monthly attrition, in the Iron Tribe model. So, yeah, at one point, it doubled, it might have, shot up to 6 for a time. You can kind of look at the historical and some of those things.
As you're making the change.
As you're making the change, so because there's a little bit of a domino effect, right? We were sunsetting a HIT program at the same time. Some people just wanted to do HIT. Yep. They weren't interested in the new, semi-private at all, So there's some of that going. Naturally, there's some team attrition too. Hey, I'm just I don't want to do group. I don't want to do all this other stuff, or I don't want to, so there's some of that as well. And we know that team attrition leads to client attrition, some of that too. So again, I knew there was some pain that I was going to have to walk through to get to the better reality, at the end of the road.
Okay, that's important because you were making it sound very easy, and I know for a fact it is not.
No. No. It was, I knew it was going to be, it was the short-term pain to get to and we can talk about those numbers and why it was worth it, in that. But so again.
Oh, we will.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing too is like, anybody listening to this, you really have to kind of clearly understand where you are as a gym and what you're willing, kind of how much short-term pain you're willing to do to get to the destination that you want to go. And that's going to look different for anybody, and so maybe the first move is just do the beta test and put it in an off slot, and then have it grow from there organically, right? We just chose to go very aggressive once we've proven that concept, and we said we're just gonna figure it out.
And yeah, I'm gonna keep grilling you on the process, but we're gonna go back and highlight. We're gonna paint the destination now. We're gonna sell the vacation, before we go into into the pain. So, how much of your revenue now comes from semi-private training?
Yeah, so if you take out non-training revenue, like, point of sale things, merchandise, protein, that kind of thing, and you just look at training revenue, almost half comes from our semi-private program.
Okay. And so so it's 50-50. And is it something where, your group training revenue shrunk, or was that just like every dollar of semi-private was incremental?
So it wasn't all incremental. Some folks would leave. So natural attrition, if we replaced a group member with a new semi-private member, that's kind of double the revenue, just price point wise. But it wasn't just that linear, or it was really kind of muddy in that whole process. So, but we knew some folks didn't want to have that. And so they would leave, kind of move on to other things because they just wanted to, especially the more price sensitive, clients. There was also too kind of this unspoken thing like, oh, hey, well, this is what Iron Tribe's always been. You've always been this large group thing. This is new, and so a few athletes felt like a little bit their gym was changing. And so there was some of that. So it wasn't a true 1-for-1, like this was all incremental. You still had natural attrition going on. And so it dipped a little bit as we were building the machine.
But I'm talking, if we're looking at, 2021, 90% of your revenue is group training, or like, I'm just assuming like the overwhelming majority.
Yes.
And then we go to today, it's 50-50. But is the total top line number, how much did that increase by adding this program?
See, interestingly enough, it didn't.
Okay.
We actually have, it's like flat or even just a little bit dipped from where we were at the height of all the group, but we're far more profitable.
Okay. So it's like if this gym was doing $800,000 a year in 2021, is doing $800,000 a year now, but your margins are way better.
Exactly. It's kind of like weighing the same on the in body. If the body comp is different, you can weigh the same, but look and feel completely different.
And then what does it mean from a, you don't have to give us the exact numbers, but maybe percentage wise, like profit percentage from the group only versus the 50-50 split now?
I mean, I'll just say this. I mean, it's basically doubled the net margin, for the gym at maturity, where we are now versus where we were when we rolled this out. You look at an apples to apples comparison, the gym is twice as profitable as it was then, with either the same amount of members or slightly less.
So if you had a gym owner doing 500,000 with 100,000 in profit, what you were saying is 5 years down the road, it would be 500,000 with 200,000 in profit. We won't say those are the exact numbers.
Yeah,
but
we can't claim that. But even if it's just like a little bit of a bump, like it's a 550, but if the profit is double, if you were at, you can go to additional 50,000 top line, but double the bottom line. Like, I want to figure out how I can do that.
Okay,
that is worth the pain.
So it isn't something where it's gonna, your revenue is gonna explode. You're just gonna wake up 5 years down the road and you're gonna be a lot more profitable than you were. Like you were well compensated for that pain, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely, I feel like it was worth it, and also too, it just we serve semi-private clients longer. They just. You're unlocking another phase of the relationship. And so not only is the arm higher, but the leg extends. And when the leg extends and the arm is higher, then the LTV, gets even better. And so it's just, and which creates the margin. So you can bonus your coaches more. Like they want to stay, they stay longer. So it's a win-win-win for everybody. Team, the business, and the client.
And it sounds like throughout the process, you churned out maybe some of the more challenging clients and then replaced them with really good ones, or ascended your best ones into a service that you could provide like more high touch.
Absolutely. And the same thing happened with our team.
Really?
Same thing happened with our team.
Okay. So then it just basically elevated the entire business.
Yeah,
is what I'm
it
hearing.
really, really did. I mean, it was one of the best moves that the founder of our brand made. I can look back over the last 10 years of being a franchisee in his wisdom, to do all of that. And so it's great.
So then why don't we go back to the pain then? So you make this transition. It's very hard. You see, we're not, it's 5 years ago. I don't remember what I had for breakfast today, but you're saying at the height, maybe churn doubled. And so revenues actually going down, member counts actually going down. How long did it take to kind of get out of the pain cave and be like, oh, this is working?
Yeah. About 12 months. Yeah.
So it's a while. It's a while.
Yeah. And not only that, John, but like the product, we actually had to kind of QA the product a little bit, because the first 100 people, we had not all those renewed, right? And so it was like, why isn't this thing growing? So we actually had to get in there and say, are we really delivering this product? Is it differentiated enough from group? Are we really delivering on what we've sold and promised? So we had to really kind of get better about that. And that was part of some of the people moves. It was, hey, if you can't just phone this in. This is semi-private personal training. I mean, this is custom programming. It has to be scalable, and you got to be able to take care of everyone, but also have it be custom enough to where it's exactly what they want and give them a good experience. So we learned some hard lessons there too.
Now, in terms of selling it, if I come to an Iron Tribe location, I want to buy a membership. Are you, how do you identify which program is right for me? And do you do both? Like, do you have athletes who are doing some semi and some group?
We do, yeah. So we call that hybrid. To where you want to do group 3 days a week, and then you add 2 days of semi-private on top of that. So a lot of people do that, too. But now, I mean, we're sitting down. I mean, what people are buying with Iron Tribe is coaching. We're not an access gym. We're not single modality. Like, you want to be coached and do that in a community, and over a long period of time, we're a great fit. So that's what they're signing up for. So it's very much a prescriptive sale. And what do you need, and what are you trying to do, and how long has it not worked, and what's that worth it to you, and all those things. And so generally, recommending semi-private usually is the prescription, that fits for a lot of people. Now, if someone, has a lot of group experience and they kind of know about semi-private and they don't want to do that, then they go straight into group. But even folks that are new, maybe they're in a new phase, they're coming off of an injury, they're coming off the couch. Semi-private is a great way to even just spend the first month learning movements, making sure we've got good, mobility and flexibility and good movement patterns and all that. Do correctives on any of those things. But then if they're ready to go to group, they can. But a lot of people try that, intending to start with group and stay in semi-private because they like the smaller setting. It's less intimidating. They like having, a little bit slower paced, instead of a frenetic group class that's really high energy.
And so it just allows you to capture more at sale, right? You got to help people, but you're also you can do more with less leads,
Right.
right?
Yes, you
Like
really can.
what has happened from a lead stand? I remember when I was running ads back in the golden days.
Right.
I could get 100 leads for maybe $200, and,
Right.
and those days are long gone.
Yeah.
And so in terms of like leads, are you is the play you're just able to do more with less?
Yeah, you can. And the other thing too is, we really kind of went from 100, up to about, 250 or 300, really largely through referral and through paid ads. But that was 2022. That was the year after we kind of did that, So now, 2026, a little bit harder to generate. It's just hard. You can still do it, but you really have to run all 4 funnels.
Yeah.
Referrals, content, social, and paid ads, to really have all those compound on each other. So generally, you still have to have a great product for people to refer. But if you do have a lead that comes in and we've targeted the right, and we're sending the right signal, right, to who we really want, and we feel that we can serve both. And, when folks are kind of done with group, we have a place for them to go. So they can actually transcend programs and stay with Iron Tribe a long, long time. Our leg is, in the 8 that I own is over 56 months. It's really long. And some of that is great loyal group members that have been in our gyms for a long, long time. But the other thing that kind of makes that good is the amount of semi-private we have.
And what did it do to your arm?
So think low 200s, maybe 230, some of the best gyms 250. Well, now, the arm, kind of the recent stats on the 8 that I own is like close to $400. I think 383, so a significant jump.
So almost doubling arm
Right.
on a similar size member base.
Right.
That's wild.
Yes.
Okay.
So that
Or on a smaller did the member base get smaller?
Yes. So yeah, either the same amount. If you look at our number one gym that had about 300 members, okay, they have a better top line and a much healthier bottom line now with 235 members than they did at 300.
Got it.
And that math was so compelling. And so we just really counted the cost and said, hey, if we're going to do this, there's going to be this short-term pain. Are we willing to deal with short-term attrition, maybe some team turnover and that kind of thing to get to this reality? And so 4 years later now, no regrets, 100%. But yeah, it was painful. But I'm in it for the long game, and we wanted to be able to, the operating principle was, how can we continue to serve who we have and serve who we want to serve longer, and to have that competitive moat around what we do. And it was making those, it was a lot of scary decisions at the time, killing what was a very popular HIT program and having people leave, like having entire classes of gyms saying like, I'm just going to go to another HIT, boot camp because I don't want to go back to our group class. I don't want to touch a barbell again, and so that was hard. But I feel it was good leadership, from the brand at the time to say, this is who we're going to serve and why.
If your gyms never did personal training, right?
So we did have an experiment back in 2017 where we tried one-on-one, and we did that for a select group of clients, select gyms, never at scale.
If you were advising a gym owner who has a very large group program and maybe some one-off-y personal training and wants to try this, would you advise getting rid of personal training altogether, or would you advise, adding a third service in addition?
Right. Well, the philosophical answer is, it's up to that gym owner with what they want to do. What do they want to do for their life? What are their goals? Kind of all those things. If that is kind of handled, right, and if their goal is, and ambition is to kind of do more like what the Iron Tribe model is, then my first thing would be to go to these one-on-one clients and really kind of understand why they value that. What about the experience? And could you deliver that and have them still be happy, satisfied, and getting good results in groups? And I would probably try to take all of my one-on-ones and see if you could transition that. And maybe you do it a little bit at a time. Maybe you go 1 to 2 and then 2 to 3 and see if you could work up to a 4 to 6, client ratio and still have happy clients in doing that. And I think if you can pull that off and your clients want that, then I think you've got, some room to try to add semi-private, to do that. I would never want to, unless a business owner is dedicated to kind of go through the short-term pain and rip the Band-Aid off and say, hey, as of X date, we're doing away with this program, but we've always tried to just say, hey, how can we help as many people without moving their cheese too much?
But isn't that exactly what you did?
Yes, but I think we did it so incrementally that we minimized attrition, we minimized the business, things to the business, the downside of the business, and we were prepared to manage that. But we didn't lose a third of the gym in the process. We didn't lose half of our clients in the process. There wasn't an exodus from our gyms because we did it slowly, and we constantly had customer feedback loops about what they liked about it, And that's not really a thing I've talked a lot about, but we really never was one-way communication. It was always hearing what's valuable about this to you, what can we do? And so how it looks today is 100 points, different than kind of what it was on paper.
So what I'm hearing is if you're a gym owner, you need to mentally commit to doing it.
And emotionally commit to it.
This is the plan.
Yes.
I am going to create this much of my revenue from semi-private, and I'm going to give myself a year to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to, that is when you say you have to be fully committed. That is what you mean.
Count the cost.
And then in terms of, once you have that commitment in terms of implementation, you're saying just don't go, boil the frog is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
With the clear first step being just get one group together, get some good results,
right,
and turn it into 2, then turn it into 3, and then you can make some decisions based off of that, because now you actually have some momentum, some case studies, and you validated the demand of this model.
Especially for a single unit owner, right? I mean, I knew if we were going to do this, I had 4 gyms, actually 5 gyms at the time, right? So I knew that if we pulled that off, the leverage that we would have from that move would really be, I'd probably speed up the time to where it actually showed up on our P&L. And so that was the risk I took with doing it the way that I did it.
So we talked about how you have 8 gyms and you're sitting pretty, they're successful, they're doing well. There are another 16 within the Iron Tribe franchise, and it sounds like they're at varying phases of developing this program,
right,
and varying phases of buy-in.
Right.
To the people who own franchises who are maybe, dragging their heels or don't see the vision, how do you talk to them, right? How would you address a gym owner who, maybe understands the opportunity but is sitting on the fence?
Yeah. Well, I think that, one, we have to take owner responsibility, right? And I think that's just kind of business 101. I mean, is to have the vision and, you are what your gym tolerates and what your level of expectations and all that. So, run your business, make the hard decisions, be a leader and chart for where you need to go. So I think the second thing is don't go it alone. And I tell, everybody in the Iron Tribe brand, tribe is in our name for a reason, right? We are out there together, and so have mentors and, be in tinker and, get in rooms with people, that are already figuring these things out, that are going to sharpen you and to help you think through the decisions and to be able to do that. But I think, for those who are even thinking about this, it's there's always going to be sprints and seasons, as a business owner in the gym business, where there's things that we can control and things that we can't. So, change is always going to be constant. And one of our core values is that we embrace change, and that is never going to go away. So I think, develop the internal emotional and mental muscles to don't fight that, be agile with that. But just take the first step. If you have committed to a course, if you know that, hey, if our gym just had these metrics, if this was our reality, then, and you've counted the cost and you're ready to do it, then surround yourself with people who are going to hold your feet to the fire when it gets tough, because it will, but also who are going to celebrate you at the mountain when you've done this, right? That's the whole thing. We do this to be in relationship with each other. That's what gyms are for, is to cure loneliness and help be the brightest part in people's day. And all of these tactical decisions to improve the reality of arm and leg and all those metrics is just so that you can do that for more people. But as owners, we have to also surround ourselves with those who are going to encourage us to do it. So I think that's my word. Count the cost, even if it's if you want to do this, dip your toe. At least try this, have a good college try effort to try to really get it going. And if you have that beta group and you can do it, then take the next step to change your reality. Because when you do that, there's no reason why as gym owners we shouldn't be able to have what we do and the people that we help, be the way that ultimately that gets us what we need. So I would end with this. If you've studied any sales, content over the last 50 years, the name Zig Ziglar. And Zig is famous for saying, you'll get everything that you want out of life if you can just help enough other people get what they want. And I think if that's our guiding principle as gym owners, as we make decisions around what we're going to offer and who we're going to serve, then everybody's going to be fine.
Jamie, thank you so much. This is going to encourage a bunch of people. You had the courage to make this transition, go through that pain, because you were able to see someone else who had done it. And one of the reasons that I felt so strongly about bringing you here to the summit and platforming you is so you can be that example for the next generation of gyms. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been a complete blast.